We're all searching for a true love. Well, it took Jeramy Hale 40 years to find his true love, and he found that in Molly. And when they met, they knew they were going to live happily ever after. But their happily ever after was challenged when Molly was in an accident in June of 1995. But love truly does transcend all. So we're going to be talking to Jeramy Hale and finding out about how that love relationship started and evolved. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know if it's the same for guys, but girls love to talk about how they met their true love. So I'd like for you to give us a little bit of background on how you met Molly and how that relationship evolved.
Yes. Molly and I met at a rock and roll show. I was in an original rock band in the Bay Area in the 80s. And a friend of ours who was a girlfriend of the bass player in the band, Molly and she were friends, and she came to a gig one night. And that's how we met. So, rock and roll.
Rock and roll and girls.
Rock and roll and girls, yes.
So did you start dating at that point?
No, actually, I don't think at that point either one of us were looking for a relationship. But I do remember, you know, the night that I met Molly, thinking that she was a very serious person in that. It was not like, you didn't do like a fling with somebody like that, you know. So we just kind of went on about our ways, and every once in a while, over the next, I think, 3 or 4 years, we would bump into each other, and there was always this, I think there was this chemistry and this interest between us, and unbeknownst to me, you know, Molly had been, since the time that we had met, had been going through all kinds of personal life changes, and when we met, she was married and had a couple of kids. I didn't know any of this about her, and she subsequently was divorced and was separated and growing in her own way, and as we continued to bump into each other over several years, each time I think we got a little bit closer, or the interest kept growing. And then one day, I remember it was right around Christmas time. I was actually out in the Bay Area bringing music to stores that were selling some of our CDs and things that we were doing, and I ran into Molly, and we kind of made a tentative agreement to get together. And so she called. About a week or so later, she called, and we got together on, it was Christmas Eve, actually. And that night I had a show that I was doing, and we got together on Christmas Eve, and we spent, I think, 2 or 3 hours together, and it was really great. I think we got very close really quickly, I think we felt. And then we started to kind of see each other, and before you knew it, we were going off to Hawaii.
Wow, very good.
And I don't know how long it evolved and over what period of time, but when we went to Hawaii, when we came back, I never left. I just stayed, I just stayed with Molly and the kids. And then I think we were together for a while, and then it turned into a marriage, because that seemed like what it was.
So can you describe the foundation of your relationship at that time?
I think that the foundation of the relationship was just our mutual interest in each other, and getting to know each other better. And we both had, I think there were a lot of things about each other that we really were attracted to. We were both active people, and I was a musician, and I know Molly really loved music, and that brought us closer together. And Molly was this, as I began to find out, was this amazingly fiercely independent woman who was kind of conducted herself like a warrior in the world. She, kind of have this image of her with like a machine gun in one arm and babies under the other.
Dramatic.
Very dramatic, yeah.
Romantic.
Romantic, yeah. So, but a very capable person, and that really I really liked strong people, and most of the people in my life were pretty strong, and so I was attracted to that, and I think that was the foundation of our relationship, was really basically just our mutual interest and our willingness to explore that interest and talk about what we were about and where we were going.
So Jeramy, how long were you together before you got married?
We were together for 18 months before we got married, and it seemed like the next thing to do, that what we were, how we were with each other, and what we were finding out about each other, we liked. So we thought we would get married.
So if you don't mind going back to the night that Molly was in a car accident, could you tell me what your first reaction was to... Do you mind going back there?
No.
Okay.
Are you to my first reaction to the news?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It was in the afternoon, actually, and I remember it was the hottest day of the year. And Molly and gang were coming back from a week-long Aikido martial arts camp, and I didn't go that year. So I was home, and I remember it was really hot, and I got this call it was about 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon. And it was actually our daughter, Kyrie, who was in the car. And she called me and said that Molly had, and they'd all gotten in an accident. Everybody had fallen asleep, including the driver, which was Molly. And they got in this accident, and everybody got out of the car except for Molly. And that she was, trapped in the car upside down, and that all these emergency people were coming, and they were coming to get her. And I just remember... it's kind of shocking news, It's sort of like something was knocking on wanting to change my reality, and I wasn't quite ready for it. I just, I didn't know what to think, but I just kind of, asked her to repeat what she was saying, because she was also very excited, and kind of, her message wasn't all really understandable. It was kind of coming out in bursts. And so I got the information, and then I also found out where they were, which was about maybe a 15, 20-minute drive from here. So one of our friends was here who was a doctor, and so we jumped in my car and we drove up to the scene of the accident, and we got there, and it was really unbelievable. It was a huge line of cars backed up for a good mile, and she was on the other side of the freeway. I had to come up one side and cross over and come down, and the highway patrol let me go off the road, and I finally got down there and got to the scene of the accident, and then basically was there while they cut her out of the car. And I didn't really know what to think, because it just, I knew she was in an accident. I didn't really know how injured she was, or, the extent of her injuries, or I really knew nothing. So I was just shocked from the event, but I didn't have any idea what it meant, and how it would change our lives, really, at that point.
Okay, so you arrived at the accident, but
Yeah.
you weren't really sure what happened or what the condition Molly was in.
No.
So, of course, they proceeded to the hospital. At the point when they told you her condition regarding her paralysis, what was your reaction to that at that point?
Whoa, that was heavy news. It's still, even then, nothing was sinking in, really. I was kind of, by that point, I was kind of just sort of just being there, and every minute seemed to hold some other piece, another piece of very heavy, intense news. There was a lot of the hospital. There was all these people running around. It was an emergency, and it was all kind of. I'd never really been in that kind of a situation before, and so even when they said that Molly had a broken neck, and even then they still didn't really know the extent of it. But they said that she couldn't move her legs, and so that's kind of devastating news. But I really still didn't. I couldn't focus on it. I couldn't think about that really and go, oh, what does this mean? Because there was too much stuff happening, and also it was chaotic in the hospital. And there was our daughter, you know, she had gone to another hospital, and there were our friends, and it was just like crazy. Our car was like smashed out on a freeway, and all the, you know, everything was like strewn all over. It was a bizarre event. It was a very bizarre event.
So after everything settled then, and you got a chance to focus on Molly and that situation, what was next for you, from your perspective? I think you hold a unique perspective.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, it took quite a while for it to sink in, first of all. So I remember the night of her accident, finally getting home. It was like, you know, I think 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I needed to get some sleep. And Molly's mom was here. She had come up from where she lived, and and all of the pipes on the dishwasher exploded at 3 o'clock in the morning. And Molly's mom came and woke me up and said, "Jeramy, there's an inch and a half of water all over the kitchen floor, and it's running down the hallway."
Oh, no.
I just remember thinking, oh my God. You know, it was all so surreal. It was just like one thing after another. But I was so numb, and I really could just sort of like do one thing at a time, really. And so I remember coming and, you know, turning off the water and mopping up all the water and kind of feeling a little bit sort of victimized, but I couldn't quite let myself go there. And then, you know, going to the hospital the next day, and day by day, basically learning what it was that actually had happened, and then trying to make some sense of it. And I really didn't know, you know, how it was going to affect my life, really. Because, it's just, there's no way of knowing, really.
Where you just focused on just get better.
There's no book that says, you know, basically your life is now over, and, you know, and these are the things you're going to have to do. There's nothing like that, you know. So one by one, as I got one more piece of information and the reality started to kind of unroll and develop, I started to realize, like, whoa, you know, this is, you know, kind of what had happened and what was going to be happening. But still I still didn't. There was still no way for me to know really to what extent.
So you were just taking it day by day.
Yeah,
you weren't really projecting into the future at all.
No, I really couldn't. Because I didn't really know, you know, how or you know, what that picture would be. Molly was in the hospital. You know, she had to have an operation. What was the recovery of that operation? I mean, people were saying basically, you know, no movement from the neck down. So that was, you know, but also I just, you know, it just didn't compute all up, and there was still a long way to go. So, you know, do people heal, and how much do they heal? And so there still seemed like there was a lot of unknown.
Did you have any hope?
Well, hope. I think I was too numb for hope. I don't know about hope. Because I still was, you know, truthfully, it took me a long, long time to process what had happened. And in retrospect, you know, I realized 7 years after the accident, a moment came. I don't know what was going on, but a moment came, and I realized that I was still in shock, and that I had been in shock all this time. There's different kinds of shock. I wasn't in the kind of shock where I can't function and I'm worthless and I can't do anything and I can't get anything done or any of that kind of thing. It wasn't that kind of shock. It was emotional shock. It was psychic shock. It was kind of relationship shock. It was kind of like, you know, that kind of shock. I just sort of, well.
So then, you know, so you realize you're in shock, but what does that look like? Or what does it feel like?
Yeah, so what it felt like, well, basically, so I think that I had to process everything that was going on. I'm still processing it. It's close to 16 years. And, you know, everything evolves anyway. Even if Molly had not had that accident, our relationship would have been evolving. And we would have been evolving as individuals. Our, you know, relationship would be evolving, and our life would be evolving. So now, really, basically, I just and we had an extra bizarre set of circumstances that also were evolving. So, and those circumstances were pretty trying, and not everybody has to go through something like that, but everybody does go through things.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And maybe not on that level, but in other levels, and they're affected in many of the same ways, but just by different things.
Mm-hmm. So I believe that's true. Everyone goes through obstacles or challenges in life that you don't expect.
Yeah.
But somehow your relationship survived.
Yes.
And I walk into your home, where we're at now, and it's an immediate feeling of peace and love, and it's almost tangible. So what did it take from you, from Molly, from the both of you to make that relationship stay alive?
Well, in our case, I think, and I could say, again, I could say we could just not have this event in our life, and we would still be going through this same evolution. Mm-hmm. So I make that distinction because it feels very real to me. Mm-hmm. And but I think that basically I know for myself, I loved Molly, and the things that we had in our relationship that I really loved, they were still there, so it wasn't as if Molly turned into a bitter and resentful person, and why is me, and all that kind of thing, and I wasn't the kind of person to go, oh my God, I hate this, I can't stand this, I'm out the door, Although I do say that, I'm glad that this didn't happen if we were in our 20s, because I don't know if I was mature enough in my 20s to understand what I was doing and the connection that we had. But at the time that it did happen, I did understand our connection. And as you had mentioned in the introduction, that it took me 40 years to find a woman that I wanted to marry. And it was for some real reasons that it took so long, as I was looking for a certain kind of woman. Although I couldn't draw a picture of what she'd look like, I just knew that there were certain qualities that I wanted there. And I think it was the same for Molly. So that brought us together. And the accident, Molly's injury, it did not change her. For example, our home was, I think, filled with peace and love before the accident. Molly didn't change, so I had to look at myself and go, so what has changed then? Molly's physicality changed, yes, and our relationship was altered because of the incident. It wasn't the same.
How was it altered?
Well, it was altered because the things that we were used to doing with each other were changed. It was altered. It wasn't so easy to just jump up and go, let's go for a hike, let's go skiing, let's go do Aikido. Even though we actually can still do those things if we chose. We still do Aikido. We don't ski together, but we did try it. Mm-hmm. We love to ski together, but it's complicated. Mm-hmm. There's logistics, as you know. There's logistics with a disability, and so sometimes the logistics are worth it, and sometimes it's not.
Right.
And so you change your mind about those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So we so our relationship continued to evolve, but it just evolved in a different way. And
I wanted to ask you. You're extremely strong, and you're evolved to be able to have a circumstance that's unexpected, and it can be life-changing, and you didn't walk out that door. But I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, were there times when you were frustrated?
Oh, frustrated, yes. There was never a time when I was ready to walk out the door, but I thought about it. Mm-hmm. There were times when I thought about it and I projected into it and I go, geez, can I do this? It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, the type of, what was being asked of me. And I'll tell you, the hardest thing for me is the actual caregiving. I'm not a nurse. I wasn't trained that way. I've been fiercely independent my whole life. And Molly was super independent, and that was one of the things that we got married on Independence Day, but we called it kind of like Interdependence Day, because we were two strong people that came together, and recognizing the strength and going, we love the strength. Let's grow the strength, and yay for our independence. Let's grow the independence and how do we be connected but still maintain our own, individual greatness in a way, to ourselves and in our dreams and like that. So
so there might be someone who's watching this who might feel on the edge of walking out from a partner who maybe became injured.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you'd like to share, or any type of wisdom you'd like to pass on to that person watching?
Well, this might sound terrible, but sometimes I think you really have to kind of answer some deep questions for, and everybody has to do this for themselves, because I don't think that you can necessarily leave one thing and think that you're running away from it and that you're not going to find it, it's not going to follow you. So I think that, if a relationship can change and people can grow apart from each other, for all kinds of reasons. So sometimes it might be right to leave, but I think that, you stay together or you leave for the right reasons, and you understand, why. And I know that for me, I had to be really, really honest with myself. And it was the way that I could stay, and I had to really admit to myself about the things I didn't like. And Molly and I have had to have very sometimes difficult conversations, because honesty sometimes is not comfortable. Right. Whether it's about sex, and our intimacy, and how do we evolve that, because it's different, and how do we embrace and accept the changes and actually learn from them and use those as something that is a positive and not a negative? Do we care about each other to do that? And so I think those are the questions that, I don't know about advice, but I think that it's really about questions and answering for oneself. What is important about the relationship, and is it worth being in, regardless of the change of the physicality, or the event, because events are going to happen to everybody anyway. Yeah. You can't run from them. So
I'm sure there were times when Molly became frustrated with her recovery and not being able to do things. Were there?
A little bit. She handles those pretty well, and she's really she's smart. And she's very evolved. She's had a lot of experience, and she's done a lot of work on herself. I mean, before we ever got together, and before she had this accident, she had been working and answering questions for herself about what her life was about, and how to be in life and things like that. So that strength was there, and actually forget the line of. Remind me again what I'm answering here, or what I'm responding to.
What I'm trying to lead to is, if there were times when Molly was frustrated, how did you have to be in that relationship? Did you give her space to be frustrated? Do you have to cheer her on? Did you have to just stand for who she is? And so how, because you have a part in that too. And for me, I know a support system is huge to living life fully.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I'm sure you were a big part.
Well, she knows. I mean, I do support her, and she knows that she has my support, and I think just our being together shows support, and we know each other. But Molly is not a negative person, and I know she would tell you that she doesn't dwell there. I've heard her say it that way. It's a choice, really. There's plenty of reasons to get bummed out. Believe me. We all know that. Yes. And but there's no end to it, because the reasons to be bummed out never end. So you can just be bummed for the rest of your life, and sooner or later you have to make a choice and decide, well, am I going to be a bummed out person, or am I going to be a person that, carries a light?
Yeah, I love that. That is beautifully stated.
And I'd much rather be a person to carry a light, because I want my life to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
So so she doesn't spend that kind of time. She just doesn't waste her time that way.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I say, it is a choice. You literally can throw a switch anytime you want to move out of a depressed state. And sometimes it takes longer. I'm not saying that you don't have to process it, but it is a choice.
Yeah.
So
do you hold that same philosophy for yourself?
Definitely, yes. And I face it every day. I think we all do.
Okay.
We all do. I have my ups and downs, and I can get kind of morose and.
Can't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with someone, and they're like, "Don't you ever get depressed and frustrated?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can go there, but it lasts like maybe an hour." She's like, "An hour?"
Yeah.
Why does it only last an hour for you and not days?
Yeah.
And it comes down to the choice.
Yeah, and because you're smart, because and you're smart because you've probably done it for days before. Mm-hmm. And because you have done it for days before, you go, well, I know what that's like. Mm-hmm. I can do it for days. It still doesn't get any better. It doesn't answer anything. Mm-hmm. So,
if it doesn't serve you, don't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, I truly admire your relationship. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
So, I was saying, I truly admire your relationship. I think your relationship is a great example to a lot of people, whether a partner got injured and had become disabled, or whatever happens in life. I mean, life throws you balls all the time.
Yeah,
curveballs.
Yeah,
you don't even know what your head's spinning. You don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
But if you were to describe your relationship in 3 words, what 3 words would you use to describe the essence of your relationship that has helped it just stay alive and thrive?
Wow, 3 words.
If you can.
That's kind of like one of those, one of those. You have to kind of like sum up the,
your life story. I know. Well, if you want to add a couple more words, I won't.
Yeah. Oh, you're not going to count?
cut you off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, God, 3 words.
Or phrases.
I mean, first of all, it seems like neither one of us give up. We don't give up easily, and so there's a willingness. There's a willingness that I think has to get reborn every day, and there's a willingness to keep moving forward and learning how to evolve, and I guess that thing, I had said something earlier about honesty. Whatever it is, to be honest about it, because I really think that we can't sweep things under the rug. It's kind of like I can't stuff things. That was one thing about this event in our lives. It was so profound that there was no way for me. There was no place. All the usual places that I have for filing things away. And for organizing it so that I could cope or whatever it was, and it just didn't fit into any of that, and our relationship doesn't fit into that anymore, because it's so complex, But then also again so simple, because it's about what do we, what kind of a person do I want to be, and what kind of person do we want to be together. And,
That's smart advice for any couple.
Another thing that kind of, has happened too is I think as Molly and I have aged, as we all do, we realize, we look around and we go, wow, I'm my parents' age sometimes when, in some of our families where our parents passed away. So we kind of see ourselves and the people that we know, we all become elders sooner or later. You know, and there is a connect. We are connected in some way as people, and we're all of us who share this human condition. We all, you know, it's not like what happens to me, I'm the only one this happens to, and I'm the only one that thinks like this, or I'm the only one that doesn't like that, or I'm the only one that loves that. No, we might be wired a little bit differently, each of us, but we all are really, really similar that way. You know, and so we all share that condition. What can we do to help that condition so that we can all evolve together, and basically become even greater, wiser people? You know.
I love the passion. Thank you. No, that it's very true. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, thanks for asking the question that, you know, brings that.
Yeah, no problem. It moved me. Well, you know, at the end of every show, and you seem to have a lot to be grateful for. But if you had to choose something in this one moment, what would that be?
Yes, really, I am really grateful for this conversation, seriously, and the opportunity to be able to share my feelings and my thoughts, and that anybody anywhere might somehow get some value from what we talk about, you know.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah, so I'm really, really grateful for that and the possibility of that.
Well, thank you. I am grateful for what you and Molly stand for each other, for what's possible in every relationship, no matter what curveballs life throws you, and for standing for being honest with ourselves and with one another. So thank you for that. I know the information that we provided you here today will definitely serve you. You know, life is going to throw us curveballs, and it's just a natural part of life. But what's amazing about being human is that we can choose to move forward in those times of unexpected circumstance with courage. And as you can see, love. Love, I believe, is the element of truth and opens the doors of miracles. And so as you go out today, know that you can love yourself through any circumstance. And love permeates all, definitely does. And so I want you to just take that message to heart and go out and live that. And know, until we meet again, that you can truly live fully and freely and live the life that you desire.